Hey there, it's Stephanie Stevenson, otherwise known as Watercolor Artiste from midlifeartist.com. And welcome. This is more of an impromptu live stream than a pre planned one. I pre planned it about an hour ago, so it's not much notice. I figured, and I mentioned this in my last live stream, which was last week. Um, that I would probably try to do this on Wednesday nights at 7. Um, and I always try to give myself an out because I'm not a fan of seeing myself on video. But I know that in this day and age, if I want to do anything really with my artwork and all that, social media is the way to go. So here I am. This is, again, like I mentioned in the last live stream from last week, this is my way of keeping myself accountable. You can ask my husband on True Social. I told him about an hour ago, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do it tonight. I even mentioned it on True Social. I'm like, I'm trying to give myself an out. And then I realized that if I want to get this done, and if I want to get serious about doing more artwork, then I need to make time to do more artwork. I've spent a lot of time on administrative stuff for this upcoming tent event, and a lot of the time spent and a lot of the money that's been spent has been because I've had zero to start with when it comes to an event that involves a tent and meeting and greeting people. So I won't have to spend as much money or as much time on future events, thankfully, except to backfill inventory, hoping and praying that it sells. So, yeah, um, in any case, so there's a couple of goals I have with this. One, as I mentioned, to keep myself accountable, even if no one watches, I'm doing this. Number two, to get artwork done. And then three, to share my experience with what I've been doing in preparation for this tent event. The tent event, if you haven't watched and tuned in on previous live streams, is September 20th. And it goes from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's a 4-hour event. Excuse me. But it goes longer for me because I had to get there at 5 o'clock to set up the tent. Well, I've never been timed setting up a tent. I've been doing this whole tent logistics planning thing for weeks now, just to plan for it. So I have it in my to-do list to practice putting it up and taking it down and putting it up and taking it down before September 20th. Make sure I can get it done in an hour's time. So that's a whole nother ball of wax. Yay me, right? In any case, what I accomplished this week in preparation for that, since it's one of my goals, is to share. And I know that some of you are watching my preparations because you want to do it too. That's been expressed to me. So I'm going to share in the interest of helping others who are watching, in the hopes that they are successful in what they do. But all this week and this past weekend, I have been taking my prints. This is one of my prints. This is my inventor, called the Inventor, of Hedy Lamarr. It's the original is a mixed media collage painting, and I went ahead and got with a backing board and a nice sleeve. I've got a price tag right here. This will scan directly into my inventory on my website. This is my price and the information about it. My little sticker that kind of helps seal it, even though it's a self-sealing. The flap bothers me, so I put a sticker there. I don't think you can see it very well, but and then on the front, I have this QR code that if you scan it, it will take you to the YouTube short. Or, you can find it on Rumble, but you have to do one link per QR code. So most people are on YouTube still at this point. So I attach the YouTube shorts to these QR codes. So if I'm talking to somebody and another person comes in and they're interested and they want to, ask a question, but I can't break away, or maybe they're introverted, they don't want to interact, but they still want to know. they're going to have the ability to scan this code and at least hear a less than a minute long YouTube short about how this artwork came to be. And I've got this on all my prints. And I also have labels like this for my original artwork that will be hanging up on the tent walls that will have this QR code on it. And so yeah, I got those done. They're all lined up in their bins. I just did, I also have a couple of card sets. These are blank cards done up. They're assorted photos that I've taken, my floral photos, more of a macro kind of look. There's 5 different photos. There's 2 of each for a total of 10 cards. And the only thing on the inside is a small um, scripture verse, I think from Ephesians. And so I have those here with a QR code that talks about the floral photography as well. So I got those. There's only 6 sets of these, but I figure maybe someone wants to have cards. You never know, right? And then today I got these. I did the signs up last night, but I got them laminated today at lunch. But thank you for no food or drink in the tent and no photography of my artwork. I'm going to hang that up. And then I've got, feel free to scan the QR codes on artwork labels for background on any artwork. So that kind of tells people, go ahead, scan the QR codes, check it out. And then I'm going to raffle off a print. It's going to be 1 entry per person out of the print bin. And, and then I'll draw it 1 hour before the end of the event and we'll see what happens. I mean, I've never done this, but I've got these all laminated. So I did that today. So I've been, steadily working on it. And if you've been following along, you know how much work I've put into this. I put most of the stuff for the tent downstairs. I've got the tent up in the basement to practice where I want to put the artwork on the walls, how it's supposed to set up. I just got a light today because this is going to go into the evening. You like my Wonder Woman apron? Courtesy of my husband. I wear it every time. I'm Wonder Woman in my own mind. But I just got this light. It's got a really strong magnet here so you can hang it up. It's also got a hook if I want to use a hook. But you can tell here, woo, or there you go. So I only got one. I hope it's strong enough for my little 10 by 10 tent, 10 by 10 tent. Say that 10 times fast. Anyway, and this is remote control too. So it's rechargeable and remote control. So I can put it on the tent, put the tent up, and of course I won't be able to reach it. I'm only 5'3" and shrinking. And so I won't be able to reach this to press the button. But this has got a remote so I can go click, click. I'll have a wand of power. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. I got a little cart that's going to help transport stuff from my vehicle to the tent site. So I have less trips back and forth considering I only have an hour to set up. So yeah, and that's actually a light week so far in terms of things that I've been doing. So yeah, I'm getting to the point where I've just got to practice putting the tent up. I got to figure out where I want to put the artwork and go from there. Tonight's live stream, I won't have the overhead of my palette this time. I didn't have that. I use one of my phones for, and it's not 100% charged. And for some reason, even though I've got it plugged in, it doesn't stay charged. The usage for it being on live stream tends to wear the battery down, and it's not at a full charge, so it won't last the full live stream. So I can't have the overhead of my palette tonight, but you'll be able to see me painting on the painting here. Anyway, so there you have it. That was my goals. Hold myself accountable, work on the painting, which is next, and to share how I've been doing with progressing on my preparations for September 20th. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and get started on Okay, there we go. I've got it. So you can see I have progressed this since last week's live stream. Um, I worked on it, I think, twice over the weekend for an hour at a time. So she's been further developed, especially in the face and the fires, and even up here in front, although this is definitely wonky. I got to get that right. And then I got to develop the mid ground here and get some more of the hottest hots of the fire. And then I want to fix a little bit on her. Um, and then we'll see where it goes. I'm only gonna the live stream I'm trying to keep down to an hour, but no more than an hour and 15 minutes or whatever. So however much time I've got left is what I'm gonna work with. Uh, for the live stream, I'll probably continue to work on it afterwards. I want to try to get it done so that maybe I can include this in my tent event on the wall. I've got all my paints here. On my palette, I've got some leftover paint that's still wet. I checked it. There's no paint boogers. What do I mean by paint boogers? Well, if if you've worked with oil, oil tends to stay supple so long as you use it or protect it. But after a while, it will start to dry or and get crusty. And when you try to paint with it crusty, it leaves boogers on your painting. You don't want that. So when you're working with paint that you haven't yet used, make sure it's still supple and it's not starting to dry. If it's starting to dry, start fresh with a new dab. And so that's what I was checking earlier. I cleaned off most of my palette of some of the smaller swatches of color. So I may have to do some more. I know I need white for the let me see if I can get my, I don't know if I have, let me see if I can get the screenshot of source pick. Will that show up? Aha. Okay. That's her face. Let me see if I can, okay. This is my source picture that I created. Um, I used a couple of pictures and then I combined them with Pixlr. It's an app on my phone um, to make an abstract background. I created an abstract background, took a picture of that, and then used some other sources and collaged it together in what's in an app called Pixlr, Pixlr. It's a paid app, but it's got great abilities that I didn't have in anything else free. So I went ahead and sprung for it for the year, and I've been using it all right. I don't think I'm using its full capabilities, but this is the source picture. Obviously, I went with red. If you were on the live stream last week, I decided to go with red on her robe. Uh, I thought it would just be better in contrast with the village that's on fire in the background. And if you're not sure of what this image is, or you don't have a Christian background, this image is inspired by the tale of Lot's wife. Um, in Scripture, Abraham goes to rescue Lot, and the angels evacuate Lot and his wife and family out of Sodom and Gomorrah, and they were specifically warned to get out fast, and don't look back. It was a very unequivocal command not to look back at the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And if you're familiar with the story, Lot's wife looked back and turned into a pillar of salt. And so here we have a rendering of Lot's wife who's looking at us. She hasn't yet turned into a pillar of salt. That means she hasn't looked back at Sodom and Gomorrah. But if you follow the scripture, she eventually does. So you want to scream at her, don't look. And I'm tempted to call this painting "Don't Look." Um, but anyway, that's the inspiration for it. It follows kind of my Hadassah painting, if you're familiar with that, at midlifeartist.com. I've got that on my gallery page. Um, which is Queen Esther. In Hebrew, her name was Hadassah. She went by Esther to hide her ethnicity from the king, King Xerxes, or Artaxerxes rather. Um, so yeah, I've kind of got a vibe going. It just is what it is, and this is what I wanted to paint. So without further ado, I'm going to get some titanium white going on my palette. Titanium white. I'm using Blue Ridge oil paints. They're out of the Carolinas, Asheville, North Carolina. I hope they may. I didn't realize they were out of Asheville. I hope they're okay with what happened with Helene. Asheville kind of got wiped off the map, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and so I didn't even realize until I just looked at the back of the tube. Their website is blueridgeoilpaint.com. They actually make their oil paints in Asheville, North Carolina. So, and I bought these ahead months months before Helene struck the Carolinas. So, golly, I hope they're okay. After this live stream, I'm going to check it out, make sure they're okay. Not that I can do anything, but if they're rebuilding, but their oil paints are really superb. I love I love how this is looking. I started this off in acrylic and have come in early with oil paints, and you can see how vibrant. This is all oil now. This is oil. The fire is oil. Even the mountain is oil. In the middle here is still acrylic base. It's not as vibrant as the oils. Oils really just make it pop. So I'm really happy with that. I also have Kremnitz white. Uh, this is not as bright as titanium, and it blends better. Titanium, if you really want to bring brightness or a highlight, titanium white's your thing. If you want to change the value a little bit of without making it pasty, Kremnitz white will do it. A lot of people use zinc white, but zinc white, I think, doesn't hold up well archivally. So you want to get Kremnitz white. Um, but yeah, Blue Ridge Oil Colors, blueridgeoilpaint.com. Plug for them because they got really good paint. I've been using it for this exclusively. So anyway, the other thing I use, in case you're wondering, if you haven't yet started with oil or you're wondering about whether you want to do oil and you're scared of it because of the chemicals, which traditionally you have chemicals, you have solvents and things like that, but you do not have to use them. I use safflower. Hold on. All right, I'll do it this way. Safflower oil. I don't know if you can read that very well. This is Ultrecht safflower oil, and I use that in a cup that has a coil in it to help clean the brushes, and I have towel. And then I make sure I clean my brushes when I'm done for the night with soap. But anyway, I think I'm going to start in with the brightest of the fires here. Let's see here. I'm going to turn on the source pick. There it is. Okay. So you can see that there's some brightest in the source pick. You can see the brightest whites are in here and then in here and along this second fire and down in here. So I'm going to bring in some of those brightest colors. And then I'm going to, I think, maybe go ahead and I probably should work on this mid-ground. I need to fix this a little bit. But this is what I worked on last. I haven't worked on her since last week. So I may start in on her because she might be tacky enough. I can layer again. And I've got reds on my palette. So that's probably what I'll do. But we'll start off with the titanium white. not cremnant, so you don't want it to blend. You want to bring out the brightest brights. I'm going to make this bigger on my screen so I can see it. And it's just touches. You don't want to overdo it because then you lose some of those values. And again, I'm holding my paintbrush. See, I'm working on wet paint, so it's already blending. So I'm trying to tap it more than anything else. Keep the whites more pure. And there's some brights down in here. The brightest brights are not back here in the furthest back. You don't want that as detailed because it's furthest away. And you want less details for the depth of field. I may have to leave this alone because it's still too wet from when I worked on it just the other day. And that's with the oil paints. You have to wait for it to dry. But the oil paints are really worth using because they're just more vibrant, more supple. And so what I'm doing now is I'm dipping my brush in the safflower oil and scraping along that coil in my cup to clean off the paint. And that's all I did was just touch. And it's got an impasto look in person than it does probably on the camera. And so you won't see that, but if you were here, you'd see that it's a thicker paint. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is try to bring some more values in her. I've got a lot of paint laid down here. I got good darks, but I do need to have some more midtones here. Let's see. I think I'll mix some red. And you want warmer colors in your foreground and cooler colors in your background because that helps push things back versus bring things forward visually. It's hard for me to see with the glare of the lamp, so I have to stand. So in some of the reference shots, you could see that the folds on the back side of her are not as, I mean, this is not too bad, but we got some of those same mid values missing in the folds that come out here. So I do need to try to bring those forward. So I wish I had the camera up above because I think it helps to see the mixing of paint for some people. So I apologize, I don't have that. I will make sure that next time I live stream, which if I do, it'll of course be on a Wednesday night at 7 if I do. So just stay tuned. I will try to plan better and commit more. As my husband said, commit. Oh, and by the way, I'm not seeing the chat. I don't have it up, although I could, I guess. I apologize. I should have had the chat up. So maybe I can get it going. Ah, let's see here. My apologies. Watch me paint. Is it working? I don't know. I hope it is. Okay, well, like I said, I can't tell if it's not showing that I'm live on this Rumble Studio thing. I don't know if it's working. So my apologies all. Okay. Well, I can't see the chat, so I apologize. I'm just going to stick to painting, which is something I do better than live streaming. Okay, so let's see how this color comes out. This is a different color, red, a little different value than some of what I've got going on here. Doesn't look the same. But the thing with oils is you can paint over it if you're not getting the look that you think you should be getting. So I'm trying to catch those mid-tones is what I'm trying to do. If I have to come in and replace some of the darker tones, I can do that. Like I said, these are supposed to be mid-tones. I'll check my True Social comments. Maybe somebody's commenting there and telling me where I've gone wrong on my live stream. I'm trying that Rumble Studio for my Rumble audience, and it's different from whatever I was doing before. Let's see. Okay. Kim's hopping on. Okay. Very good. Hi, Kim. Again, I'm sorry I'm not keeping up with the live stream. I want to try to figure it out, but I keep postponing what I'm working on here. I'm trying to do more painting and less talking, if you know what I mean. So, is it working? Okay. Okay, it's working. Chat. I don't see the chat though. Uh, well, I think I'll go back to what I was doing before. The Rumble Studio I haven't figured out yet. I'm sure it's better than what I had been doing before. I just didn't figure it out in time. So yeah, this isn't by any stretch of the imagination done. I still have bits of canvas still poking through. So I'm also using, by the way, to make the paint go a little further, I'm using Galkid, which is a fast drying medium. I also have solvent-free fluid that's safflower alkyd painting medium as well. So it helps allows your paint to go a little further. I need to go a little darker. There we go. So yeah, this is laugh laugh at Stephanie time for her painting. and her live streaming inabilities. I'm making up a slightly darker. I don't have to make a darker red. You have to add a blue, and there's ultramarine blue, and then there's cobalt teal and cobalt blue. So I'm going to put all of those down. Oh no. Sometimes I struggle with opening up these paint tubes. Ah, I got that one. Okay. Very good. I thought I was going to have to ask my husband to help me, but I got it. No need to call in reinforcements. Cobalt teal is a color that you wouldn't think you should use, but when you consider that printers use cobalt teal, bright lemon yellow, and a cadmium red as the base colors to print all of the colors, you have to give it a shot and see. Um, I'm going to put a little bit of cobalt blue in this to see if that will darken it up and keep it warm, a warmish purplish red for my darks here. Let's see how this looks. There we go. That is a warmer. If you could see it here, you would see that it is a warm purple. So I'm trying to get some of these darks restored. Maybe add some cobalt blue right into that and mix it right on the canvas. And I'm going to use a little bit more medium because I'm running out of paint. I want it to go a little further. I'm trying not to hold my paintbrush like a pencil. I'm trying to hold it like a paintbrush. All right, I'm going to put in some ultramarine blue into this dark red, purple, and really get some dark going on here because there is some real darks going on right under this fold. And this is a red garment, at least not in the reference photo, but on my canvas, that's what it is. And in some of the darkest folds, you could see blues. So that's, but it still looks like a red garment. Ain't what you see, not what you know. Sorry about the chat, guys. Really am. Bothers me. I can't figure that out tonight. Don't understand. It just goes to show I need to do this more and get good at it. You know what I mean? I get, you know, I don't know if you remember, but last week I'm like, oh, what am I doing? I started to get worried about what I was doing, and I have to tell myself and reassure myself that oil paints, you can paint over it if you think you did something wrong. So try not to panic. So if you're working in oils, try not to panic. It's all right. It's okay. I got this. I used a color last week that a little wonky as it's drying. I don't know if I like it. So I'm going back over it with this ultramarine, red, blue, dark color because I don't think it's got a kind of a opaque kind of look to it compared to the rest of the color on here, and it looks wonky. Let's see. Come up here, add a little more medium, more galkid as it's called. And again, I'm mixing I think I'm mixing a burnt sienna with quinacridone magenta, which is more of a cool red, but just enough to keep it very, keep it red. And then ultramarine blue, what I'm using here. I need to see this reference picture bigger. There we go. So yeah, I'm trying to restore some of these darker darks. So what's everyone else working on this week? And I promise I'll come back to the chat comments and read them because I can't see them right now. I tried to load them up, but it's not showing. I think that has to do with what I was trying tonight, which isn't working too well for me. So I will go back to what I was doing last week. That worked out better. Or figure out what I'm doing wrong. One way or another, that's what's going to happen. There's some dark here. And don't be afraid of paint marks, although that's exactly what I'm afraid of. Trying to not be afraid of paint. And I've been using the same brush, and sometimes you really do need to switch it up. So, but I think this is the right size brush, so I don't want to switch it out if it's working for me. Okay, got to be a little more careful here. A little more detailed. I'm using the edge of the brush, kind of just give an edge to the so yeah, and I got some darks in here that I don't have in these folds here. Am I following it exactly to the T? No, I'm not. But that's okay. Just a reference anyway. You can take liberties with your painting. You can do whatever you want. As Bob Ross would say, there's only happy accidents, right? What are a few other Bob Ross isms that I can use here? Happy little accents. Happy. I have no happy trees. There's not a lot of happy going on here, is there? I think this whole shoulder is a little too low. I don't have enough shadows going on with it. I'm going to add a little bit, go back to a more medium tone. see here. I had a wrong color last week. It came out pink. This is not pink. This is a red. This is Lot's wife. She's looking. She's preparing to look back at her old life disappearing to her detriment, unfortunately. So we don't want to lose that fact. I got some medium tones there. So yeah, just working on her again. I still have some areas of canvas poking through. So I mean, there's still more to her than meets the eye. Medium tones here. Medium tones. There's just lines of medium tone. All right. Trying to figure out what my brightest brights on her red garment should be. I don't think it should be white because it's a red garment, right? So, but I don't want it to be pink. So maybe it should be a yellowish tan kind of look to it. And again, if this doesn't work, I can always bump it back out. Gotta try not to do a pink. You know what I mean? No pink. I want it to be a more subdued light red of some kind. I just don't think I should put any bright brights there. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what you should do. Sometimes. You know, at some point you start looking at things and you start repainting, and that's when you're second guessing yourself. And so you should move on to another part of the canvas when you start to do that. So I may be doing that here in just a minute. We'll see. I got Kremnitz white. That would blend it. I think you save the real touches of titanium white for just those areas that are just the brightest brights. And when you look at that, you squint at that reference shot, gotta maintain those brightest brights. Right on the shoulder, I gotta bring those back. I gotta bring some brights there. Just touches. What else am I doing? What time is it? Am I going over time? Oh, I'm all right. I'm doing okay. All right. I'm going to move on from this. Leave it alone for now. I'll come back to it either next week or sometime over this coming weekend. I'm going to start working on this area. This is the most abstract areas is in here. This is really just hints of buildings, indications of buildings. I want to bring in some of the purples that define the ground in the background on these areas and bring in some of the darkest darks in the fire. So that's going to be purples, but they're going to be cooler purples. And then let's see if I can make this source picture a little bigger so you can see it better. So you can see this whole area in the middle, between just under the fire and just above the immediate foreground is obscured indications. And so that's what I'm going to be doing, is obscured indications. I'm not going to worry about keeping it exactly to this source photo. Not my aim. It is going to follow closely, but I'm going to go ahead and get a cooler purple going. A cooler purple is going to use quinacridone magenta, is a cooler red, and the ultramarine blue. So I actually have, I think, enough of the quinacridone red still on the palette. So I'm going to think it's hard to know between those two, which one's my stronger color. I think the blue is. So I'll start with a little blue to my red and see what that gives me. Again, I want cooler purples than the purples that I put in her red garment here in the very foreground. Cooler colors push back, warmer colors pull things forward. So you want to remember that. I'm not an expert on all this stuff. You would think I was, but considering I only started working back in art in 2022 after over 2 decades of not touching it, kind of makes a difference. So I got a purple here. I think it's good enough for what I want to do. And I'm going to bring in these purples here in these areas. I'm going to bring in some purples for the darkest parts of the fire, just touching it like I did for the whites. And then I'm going to probably bring in some purpled browns, some cooler browns to touch up some areas to kind of give hints of buildings in the distance without clear definition. I also need to fix this. This is too blue. I got it. Okay, I'm obviously showing you something on my canvas that you're not seeing because I got this too big. So there we go. Put this back down. But yeah, I'm going to get the purples in here. I'm going to get some purplish browns, cool browns in here. I'm going to fix this area. This is too chroma blue. It's still a muted blue, but it doesn't look right. So I'm going, I already have some purple that I mixed up. This is a cooler purple. And I'm going to just touch the canvas. The further back you go, the less detail. So you don't want to do too much detail. And again, I'm just touching. The much of the fires are still wet paint from when I painted the other day. So it could mix. That's why I've got to just touch and then get back into the, you can see just bringing in those darks here kind of really give a depth to this fire. It looks like just a mess to me, but when you step back, it reads as a fire does, you know, so yeah. Looks like a mess, but it is a fire. So, and then I'm just, now I've got some dark areas here. So you can see now that's definitely got some definition it didn't have before. It's just touches, that's all I'm doing. With the sides of the paintbrush. I don't want to do too much. I hear my thing going off. What does that mean? Okay. Not okay. I guess it's not streaming on Rumble. I don't know why. Thanks. Thanks, Kim. I guess it's on YouTube. So go to my YouTube channel and that's where it's also live streaming. Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it. Sorry, everybody. Sorry. I think I need to bring in trying to bring in some brown here. I don't have any yellow going. That would probably give me, maybe I'll do some trans yellow oxide. See if that'll help tone down some of this. We'll see. Trans yellow oxide is transparent yellow oxide. It's a yellowish in tone. It's going to help get me some brown tone or tone down the red. So yeah. Let's see here. There we go. That purple is a little too much, I think, for the buildings. So what I did is I took some of my red and put some transparent yellow oxide with it And I'm going to, I need more yellow oxide. Because I think, yeah, I'm still not happy with that. Still not happy with that. So I'm going to take my Winsor & Newton yellow ochre, if I can open it. I can. Very good, very good. I'm going to see if I can't get that more brown. Now my yellow ochre is very, very thick, like my cobalt teal. Like there's not as much oil to the pigment, so it's very pasty. Oh, I gotta really dig into that. There we go. I'm mixing it right on the canvas. I wish I knew why it wasn't streaming. I mean, wasn't working with Rumble. I don't understand. I tried to do Rumble. I did. I tried. I tried. Let's see here. Get a bigger shot here. Really not going to work. Can't get that. Are there times when you just can't get it right? That's me right now. I just can't get it right. That's okay. I guess I'm just nervous about doing this because it's nebulous. So I'm afraid to just put and drop lines because it may not make sense, you know. But at the same time, it's not supposed to because it's nebulous. That's the whole point, you know. So I think what I'll do is I'll come in with some darks and some lights. But I think as I'm moving further away, it really needs to be lighter because it's receding into the background. Not as many details. Not as many details. So I'm going to get this yellow ochre working for me. Yeah, that's better. So it's more of a medium tone. I load it up on the medium. Be careful how much medium you put into there. I definitely need to darken some of these areas. Take some Kremnitz white and mix it in with my yellow ochre to lighten it up a little bit to get some of these bright spots. What bright spots? Oh, the ones that I can't see because it's too nebulous. You know, fun stuff. abstract, Stephanie. Don't be afraid. I have to talk myself out of these things or into them, one or the other. Again, this is supposed to be nebulous, so I should just not worry about it, right? Right. That's the problem. I worry too much. My husband would tell you. My husband would tell you. And thanks for joining in on YouTube. I don't have as many people on YouTube following me, so I try to cater to where people follow me, and so I'm missing out on Rumble tonight, and I guess that's just as well. I need to also say hello to people on YouTube. When it's working, it's working. When it's not, it's not. All right. It is what it is. This is so nebulous. You know what? Just go with it, Steph. Just do it. Put some color down. Just do it. Don't be afraid. But that's exactly what I am. Am I cutting that off there? What does that look like when I do that? See, this whole point right here could be distracting if I'm not careful. Probably I need to let that purple come over, shouldn't I? I don't know. I specifically want feedback for this area here, where it meets the veil, the background. Should I have these purplish dark areas of land come right behind her, or should I have something else going up and down, vertical or horizontal? I'm specifically looking for some feedback or ideas on this because I've got this, which is going to be very bright if you can see the reference shot. And so this isn't going to be all that bright. It's going to be in contrast. So I'm trying to figure out what I should do here so that this isn't contentious and doesn't distract from the rest of this. I think that's what I need to figure out. I think the next time I work on this, I'm going to come back to her face and with a smaller brushes, and really get into details and really flesh out, pun intended, flesh out uh, the rest of her face, get some colors back in there, define her eyes a little bit more, and get things the right tonal value and everything else. And let everything else get tacky dry and come back to it for final touches. Get some final darks in here, figure that out. Really, really, really need to get that fixed. It's driving me crazy. I'm going to take some burnt umber deep and see if I can't work with that. Probably going to be a little too dark, but I need to fix it. It's driving me batty. It's just too wonky. You know what I mean? You've got a painting or a drawing that's driving you crazy. I got some ultramarine blue in this, so it's competing. All right, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it alone even though it's driving me crazy. But yeah, I've hit the 8 o'clock mark, so I'm not going to keep y'all too much like I'm keeping you. You're here on your own choice. I appreciate everyone who's come to join me. Uh, but yeah, if you've got any ideas or thoughts about this area here or any other area of the canvas, I'm open to feedback. Just be nice. But yeah, here I'm again. Let me make this bigger for you so you can see it, the reference. Not that we have to follow it to the T, but you can see how it's very nebulous in this area of the reference. And I want this to make sure it comes forward and doesn't conflict in depth with this background. So maybe I need to bring this back over. I have a feeling I need to bring that purple over. So I'm gonna, when I'm done live streaming, I'm gonna go check comments to see what y'all have to say. Because, like I said, I value feedback and advice on this. I'd appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and actually just turn that off and go back to this. But anyway, thanks for joining me. Again, I got painting. I'm doing areas of the canvas. If you know me and you follow me, you know that areas of the canvas that I touch last are usually the areas of the canvas that I have been scared of, most intimidated, and don't know what the heck to do with part of the painting process. So as you can tell, the part between the fires and the foreground buildings is nebulous, it's undefined, and I don't want it to be too confusing. And maybe I don't put too many lines. Maybe I just do touches. But I don't want it to compete with her in the foreground. And I definitely got to work on her some more. She's going to be front and center for real, pun definitely intended. And I really want to get her face. I don't want to change her expression. I just want to um, get her features really finalized and well rendered. That's what well rendered. So yeah. And next time I'll have the overhead of the palette so you can see what I'm doing when I'm mixing colors. Um, but yeah, not too bad considering. Next time I'll go back to what I was doing for live streaming before until I can figure out what the Rumble Studio thing's doing. So, and I'll always be live streaming on YouTube. YouTube makes it easy. Rumble, I don't understand as much yet. So I'm going to figure it out because I want to be able to cater to both platforms if I can. So thanks for joining me. I'm going to try to make sure I do this again next Wednesday, providing nothing conflicts, nothing earth shattering. And you can join me and see where I'm at. Maybe I can get this finished next Wednesday. Uh, or I can share that I finished it before next Wednesday. In any case, thanks for joining me. I'm Stephanie, known as Watercolor Artiste on Rumble and on YouTube. And my website is midlifeartist.com. Please be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment for me. No bad comments. I need encouragement. I do need advice, or I've asked for it, though. I'll take that. And I appreciate y'all joining me. You guys have a good night and prepare for the